Hello, and thank you for joining us for Does God Really Love Me? A 50 Days event. My name is David Anderson, and I'm one of the pastors here at Vineyard Community Church in Overland Park. Over the next 50 days, we're going to take a look at this really incredibly important question. Does God really love me? Does God really love me? That's the question. Now, I'm going to jump ahead to the very end here and just spoil the ending for you and tell you that the answer is an emphatic yes. God loves you. God loves you. Now, as you hear me say that, some of you are shaking your heads. I mean, maybe you're not shaking your heads where everybody can see it, but inside you're shaking your head because you're thinking to yourself, well, that just isn't true. Because as you look over your life, you experience the pain and the sorrow and the disappointment, so much of it that it just doesn't seem to line up with the idea that there's a God out there who loves you. Now for you, I pray that in the next 50 days, you will have an experience of the living God's love for you, for yourself. That's what I pray for you. Now, for some other folks in the room, as you hear me say God loves you, you say, yeah, I know God loves me. Of course He loves me. He loves everybody. But deep down in your heart, in the place where only God and you can see, you're not really that sure. You doubt that He really loves you. And see, for you, maybe it's that you know in your head that God loves you, but it hasn't yet made it to your heart. So for you, I would pray that in the next 50 days, you too would have that encounter of God's love for you, and you'd be able to bring it from your head to your heart and to know and to be able to live and walk out of that truth. Now, for some other folks in the room, you hear me say God loves you and you say yes, and you really mean it. Because in your life, you've experienced the depth of God's love for you. And so for you in the next 50 days, you get a chance to celebrate that love and to go even deeper with Him. Now, over the next 7 weeks, we're going to look at God's love from a lot of different angles, a lot of different perspectives. We're going to take a look at His perfect love, His revealed love, His breathtaking love, His expansive love, and His unshakable love. And then in weeks 6 and 7, we're going to take a look at living our lives in the true identity that God has for us as a child of God. So this week, let's take a look at God's perfect love. God's love is perfect. It is flawless. In fact, you and I have never encountered love like this on this earth. We can only experience it from relationship with God. Now, I could talk quite a bit about God's love for us, about His perfect love, but I have someone else that I want to tell you about it. I want to introduce you to Larry Warner, a friend of the Vineyard. We've been fortunate enough to get to know Larry over the last couple years, and his determination to live his life out of who he truly is in God, in His true identity, and his desire to live out this reality that God loves us, it makes him the perfect guy to talk to us about this question, does God really love me? Now, Larry's done a lot of incredible things. You can read about those in your workbook. I'm not going to get into them here, but what I want you to hear about Larry is that he has spent 20 years living out this one question about God's love for us. And our time with him has been so encouraging. So I pray that he would be just as encouraging for you. So without further introduction, Larry Warner.
Hello, my name is Larry Warner, and it is a privilege and honor to join the Vineyard in this exciting series on God's love. The topic, God loves you, is one of my favorite topics, actually, in all the world. If I have one message to speak to a church, that's the message I speak. God loves you. So be able to spend 7 weeks soaking in that topic is fantastic. And so I look forward to seeing what God's going to do as we journey, not only week by week, but day by day through the topic, God loves you. Tonight we're going to do 2 exercises, and then I'm going to end with a story all about God's love. And the first exercise and the second are very similar, but I want to give you some words around how to do it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have everyone stand up in a circle, best you can do that in your situation. And I want one person, whoever you choose, to turn to the person on their left, look them square in the eye. So you square up to them, you look them face to face, just like I'm looking at you right now, and you say these words: God loves you. And you say them with conviction. And as you say them, you're trying to speak them into their very soul. And then everyone else who's standing around that circle, I want you to be praying for the person who's hearing those words, that they would be able to receive them, that they would be able to embrace them, that they would be able to believe them. Not just know that in their head, but begin to embrace it in their heart. And to the one who's receiving these words as it goes around the circle each time, I want you to open to those words. And if it's difficult for you to receive them, I want you to silently pray this prayer: I believe. Help me in my unbelief. Because that is a prayer prayed in the Gospels, and one that Jesus hears and honors. I believe. Help me in my unbelief. So now I want you to, first person, turn to your left, go around the circle. And when you're done, the group leader will lead you in a little time of debriefing, and then I'll come back and join you again and have you do exercise number 2. Thank you. Okay, this is our second exercise of the evening, and we're going to do it the same exact way. Everyone stands up, get in that circle, and let's start with the same person who started last time. Turn to your left. Again, good eye contact, looking at the person just as I'm looking at you right now. And I want you to say these words this time. Now, oftentimes when I've done this with groups, there's a little nervous laughter that goes on when I say what these words are going to be. And that's fine, because it's something that we're not used to saying. But it's a revolutionary truth that we really need to own and embrace. So these are the 3 words I want you to say to that person as you look them right in the eyes this time. God loves me. God loves me. I mean, if we can believe that, that'll change our lives, and it will help other people to begin to believe it. So as you say it, I want you to, again, try to believe it for yourself. Not just know it, but believe it in your heart. And again, if you're struggling with that, then pray silently. I believe. Help me on my unbelief. And as this is going around the circle, I want everyone else in that group praying for the person who's now saying those things, making this great declaration, that they would be able to believe it, embrace it, hold it in their hearts. And it would form and shape how they see themselves, how they live their lives each day. So, first person, turn to your left, and let's share that awesome truth. God loves me. And at the conclusion, the small group leader will again spend some time debriefing. How was that for each of you? Well, now I have a story about God's love. And the point of the story, I'm just going to tell you up front, so you can begin to wrestle with that, is this. You are God's favorite. Yeah, you. In all the world, you are God's favorite. Now, don't look at the person to your right or left. I'm talking to you. You are God's favorite. Now, that seems like, well, what are you talking about? God loves us all the same. No. God loves us each uniquely, for we are each a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, a new creation. So here, let me tell you the story. So this gentleman, this father of 7, was in his home, and the neighbor came over, and they were sitting at the dining room table, and the neighbor asked him this question: of all your children, who's your favorite? And of course, as any father would, he says, oh, no, I love them all the same. They're all very special to me. I can't imagine my life without any of them. But the neighbor wouldn't let him off the hook and said, no, come on, you have 7 kids. Who is your favorite? Well, unbeknownst to them, as this conversation was going on, Mickey, who was outside shooting baskets, came in for a drink of water. And as he entered the kitchen, he overheard this conversation. And you could imagine, he was the youngest, and he stops dead in his tracks. Is my dad going to say me? And so he waits and he listens. And his dad finally begins to share who his favorite is. And he shares his daughter, Stephanie, the oldest. I guess I have to say Stephanie is my favorite. She's artistic, she's creative, she's energetic. She just embraces life in a way that I can never embrace it like. So I guess she would be my favorite. And of course, you could imagine poor little Mickey, shoulders slump, and he begins to go outside, not even getting his drink of water. But then he hears his dad say, whoa, wait. I think it might be Johnny. Yeah, Johnny must be my favorite. He's an engineer. He can take things apart, put things together. He's ingenious with devising these contraptions that do incredible things. I don't even know how he thinks of these things. I guess Johnny would be my favorite. Of course, Mickey at that point now has stopped because he's heard 2 names. And then the father says, no, I think it must be Nathan. Then David. Then Bob. And he goes down the list. And for each one, he explains why that one is unique, why that one is his favorite. And eventually he gets to Mickey. And Mickey's face lights up as he hears his dad say to him, here's why you're my favorite. Now, of course, he's saying it to the neighbor, but Mickey's hearing it as this is spoken to him. And now as he goes out the door, he has a skip to his step because he's God's favorite. He says, God looks at each of you. He says to you, you're my beloved. You're my favorite because you are unique in all the world. And God loves you in a very unique and special way and will love you in ways that are unique to you. Because as we will see in the weeks to come, not only does God love you, but God likes you, and God loves loving you.
Okay, so you thought the video was over. Now you see me standing up here, but rest assured, I am going to turn you over to your small group leader here in a minute. I wanted to take a minute to just share a little bit about what we're going to do in the small group this week. First, we prepared some discussion questions for your small group. These are questions that give you the opportunity to wrestle together as a group with the ideas that Larry just shared. If you came to this thing, you probably have some questions about God's love, and let me just encourage you, this is the chance to get those questions answered. No one's going to judge you for the questions that you bring up. There are no out-of-bounds questions, so just let them fly. This is a safe place. Also, I know that this is the first week for your small group to get together. And so maybe you don't know very many people in your small group. Maybe you don't know anyone in your small group, but that's okay. Let me encourage you again, participate. Get into the conversation, talk it over with the other folks in the group, because that's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to explore this question, does God really love me? One last thing, we're going to do a group prayer exercise this week. And that might be a little different for some of you if you've never experienced that before. Maybe you feel a little shy and so you're not sure how you feel about it. Again, let me encourage you, Participate in the prayer exercise, because we can talk and we can talk and we can talk about God's love. But what we really need, what you really need, what I really need, is an experience of God's love, that God gives us Himself. And what better way to do that than to pray and ask for it? Well, that's all I have for you this week. I'm going to turn you back over to your small group leader now. Thank you.